Another week and another video for Harry Potter Wizards Unite. And while Niantic was in the news a little bit this week, it's more just a continuation of their process of bringing in funds. Basically, they're now valued at $4 billion. That's with a B, which is a significant amount of money. And actually, John Hanke was on CNBC earlier this week, a couple days ago, I think, just kind of talking about the valuation and the fundraising efforts of the company. And while it doesn't directly immediately relate to Wizards Unite, I think that the takeaway that I had from this little interview that they had was the acquiring of Axiom, and not necessarily acquiring, but partnering with Axiom. Because if you don't know, Axiom is a major player in esports, and I think at this point in the development for Wizards Unite, I think it's too late to implement something for launch, but this is something that with Wizards Unite potentially going years down the road, like Pokemon Go it's going on its third year now. It could be big, and that could see something that benefits Wizards Unite down the road. But as far as the immediate impact, I don't really think anything that happens today, in the coming days, in the coming months, is going to have a major impact on the launch of this game, but look for things to come down the road. What I do want to talk about in this video is kind of how I think missions are going to go. And one thing that I've had in conversations with other people through Discord mostly has been that I don't want to make too many comparisons to Pokemon Go, because I just don't think they're going to be that similar of a game. If you look at the differences between Ingress and Pokemon Go, like you wouldn't even know that they were done by the same company. They're that much dissimilar, if that's even a word. And so I just don't want to get hung up on trying to come up with comparisons that say, well, I think Wizards Unite is going to be like Pokemon Go for XYZ. Now, what I do think will be similar is I think the ease of the game is going to be similar. Pokemon Go is not a complex game, whereas Ingress Prime is a very complex game, at least on the outset. I wanted to try Ingress Prime and I couldn't get into it because it looked overwhelming, honestly. So as far as comparisons to Pokemon Go, I would say look for it to be the KISS method, the keep it simple, stupid, as far as gameplay goes. I'm not expecting a whole lot, honestly. I expect it to be fun though. And outside of that, outside of augmented reality, which means they want you to go out and explore the world, that should come as no surprise to anybody, and outside of a Pokestop type thing in Ingress Prime, they have portals. I think they might be like port keys is definitely an option. But outside of that, I really don't know that we're going to see a whole lot of similarity between Pokemon Go and Wizards Unite, and I just kind of want to make that distinction right at the onset. So what do I think Wizards Unite gameplay is going to be like? Well, if you check out my Muggle Minute that I do with Postimon, I'll put a link in the description below to his channel. We discussed what we think about gameplay. I want to go over a quote from Niantic about Wizards Unite. Wizards Unite will be all about working together, and players will have to explore the real world surroundings to solve a global mystery, all the while encountering artifacts, magical creatures, and familiar characters from the wizarding world that we think you'll know quite well. So what this means to me, and what I really want to make this video about, is how I think we are going to go about solving these global mysteries. If we look at what we know about the game already, and quite honestly, it's not a lot. We haven't seen a whole lot other than the 2 teasers that we have been given. But specifically, on the second teaser trailer, right at the very beginning, is a quick flash of something that I think is actually pretty important when we're talking about solving a global mystery. Here's the clip for you again, and what you want to look for is look for something that kind of looks like a mission or a quest direction. It was quick, right? You missed it. I'm sure you did. But here's a still frame from the specific moment that I want to talk about. And if you will notice, it says that there are witnesses, and what they say is reports of UFOs up 90% in this area, but none attributed to flying broomsticks. Now, what is the damage report on this? Reports of stunned possum and dented rhubars, which is an Australian Muggle term. Basically, if you're in the States, it's like a brush guard that goes on the front of trucks. People that live out in more rural areas will have brush guards to make sure they don't hit tumbleweeds, to make sure if a deer jumps out in front of them, it doesn't absolutely smash up their car. It's basically the same type of thing there. And this is signed off by Matilda Grindelhawk, who we have come to know works for the Ministry of Magic. And I think basically this has all the elements of how we're going to find out what is the global mystery that we're trying to solve. And I really don't think this is going to be something that has a finite ending. I think it's going to be an infinite storyline here where it keeps going, and that's either your quest for the week, the month, or something of that nature. This all kind of came during the Muggle Minute that I did with Postymon, and he was talking about, you know, quests and things of that nature. And I can really see like each segment of time, whether it be each day you have a daily quest, or you have a monthly quest, or a quarterly quest, and I think outside of quarterly quests it might be too long, but any kind of quest we have, I could really see this being the delivery method, where you have a person in the Ministry of Magic who is going to be issuing an alert of some kind. Now, to take this another step further, also in this trailer we have what is shown here, where there's like a slide, and then it has a spell, a hand gesture for a spell over the broomstick. And in this particular video, broomsticks were what we were supposed to be investigating. I think that tells us a lot about the gameplay. I think these broomsticks were taken over. I think it was a wind spell or a weather spell that created these brooms to go flying crazy, and then we have to do the anti-spell in order to counteract what is going on. When you look off to the side, you see the threat level, and if you take that MACUSA clock, it says danger. That would be where the yellow would be from the information that we've been given, and underneath that is a stamp. So I can really see this being a situation where we have trace numbers that's kind of going to just be like random numbers, or je ne sais quoi of what it is that is happening on a global scale. And the threat level means it could be something as simple as it's a harder task to complete, or it could be something where the threat is higher, and I don't know what the repercussions with that would be, which lends me to believe that your player level, the higher player level, the easier this task will be for you. At the beginning of the game, this could be something that is relatively difficult for us to complete. And then underneath that is you have what looks to kind of be like a stamp. And Mark over at Zealman Plays thinks that this could be some kind of an indicator as to this is an object quest instead of like a beast quest, because we do know that we will be encountering beasts along the way, and that makes perfect sense to me. Going back to the first trailer that we've seen from this game, where the Golden Snitch is flying around the English back alley, it smashes into a window, cracks it, shatters it, and then bounces off of a trash can, it could be a very similar situation. The caveat to all that comes in is that we also hear like a beast, a dragon, or footsteps off in the distance as well. So maybe you can have it to where these different events build off of each other, where you could have the object mystery would be why are golden snitches flying around back alleys randomly, combined with the fact that there are beasts nearby. And so if you remember from my last video, I was talking about how I think sound augmented reality is going to be a major part of this game. That is how you would fuse the two together. One thing that I always love about mysteries or teases or just some kind of like bits of information here and there where expectations are huge, like this game is going to be this like huge type of an event, and you look at the clues and you try to think grand, you try to think, well, okay, so here's a little bit of it, but what is the bigger meaning? And a lot of times when you look at it with 2020 vision, so once the game is launched, then you go back and look at the information you were given along the way, it tends to be a lot more simplistic than people want to elaborate it out to be, as if there was some way deeper meaning into everything. And I don't necessarily think that that is the case. I don't think we know everything. Obviously, we haven't seen any kind of gameplay, but I think we know a lot more than we actually feel like we know, because I think a lot of it is right there in front of us. And as far as quests go, I think we know a lot of the details. But this is just my opinion. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that quests are going to be something way bigger than what I've talked about, or am I really dumbing this down to an elementary level and there's no way it's going to be that simplistic? That's the conversation I want to have with you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this. Go ahead and hit subscribe, because I'm going to try to produce at least weekly content on Wizards Unite leading up to what I project will be a summer release. I think maybe next week, if they stick to pattern. We got like 36 days, I believe, between video 1 and video 2. Next week would be that 36-day period again from video 2 to a potential video 3. So I'm anticipating something happening over the next week. If not, I'll come up with something to talk to you guys about. Anyway, that's all I've got for this one. So until next time.